What's going on, guys? It's Tyler with High Crucible Steels, and this is the Kubey Verijeros. I'll definitely spell that in the description because I am not sure how you spell it right at the very moment or even say it. But this is a budget steel knife with titanium scales, so it's kind of an in-betweener, and it is priced as such. I believe it was around 140, 150. Love the action deployment methods. There's 3 of them. We have a front flipper. You can use the thumb stud, and you can also reverse flick, and all these deployment methods work really well. Access to the lock bar is pretty good, and I believe we are sitting on washers, so you can actually see the washers in there. I will be sharpening this for you guys and putting a mirror edge on it with 10,000 grit. So we're going to start at 220. I do have a CBN stone here that I'm going to start. One side's 220 and the other side is 180, so there's not really a big difference there. We're going to start on the 220, and as always, we're going to go ahead and find our angle by laying the knife down flat and then bringing it up until the shadow and underneath the blade disappears completely. Right from there, you're going to find a spot on the knife where you want to put your finger, and that right there is going to be your angle. So we found the angle. We make sure that our thumb and finger is set, and I always like to grab a Sharpie. Alright, you grab your Sharpie, you find your angle again. Let's redo this. Okay, so what I like to do is lay my blade flat on the stone. There's a shadow underneath it now where the blade and the bevel is not touching. Now I raise it just slightly, just enough to put that bevel right on the stone, and then I place my finger in one spot, and that will be where I guide the blade back and forth when I begin sharpening, and will help me maintain my angle. So you can see that little indentation on my finger. I'm just going to fill that in with black permanent marker, and then we're going to push with our thumb, and that will be the same angle when we get ready to change over, and I can use that to guide. Alright, very easy way to just kind of make sure that you maintain that angle throughout. So we are going to go ahead and start sharpening. We have a pretty straight edge here, and then it goes into its small little belly there. It's not a huge belly at all. Alright, so after the first few passes, you can see where we are hitting the very top of that bevel, and I can actually see, if you look real close, you can see exactly where that is and isn't touching. Now, that might not show up too well, but I will continue on from here. Alright, and we are approaching that now, but we're not quite there. We're going to go ahead and start with forward and backward passes. Exactly what we want to see, creeping down to the apex. So we're not quite there yet, but we are approaching the apex. Go ahead and take a look at the other side. It looks like we are close, but we haven't quite hit that tip yet. So that's what we're going to be focusing on here. Is that little bit of a tip there that we need to grind. Alright, so we have started to approach that burr here in that belly area. Still haven't quite hit that tip. There's still a millimeter left before we make a burr on that, and we are approaching here shortly. Just making sure that tip is angled just right. Quite close, but not quite there yet still. And as you can see, the diamond is starting to get a little bit gray with metal, and you just need to wipe that off so that you can continue to get as much of that surface on your blade as possible. Alright, getting very close. There's a burr all the way down except for at the heel and the very tip. I'm making my way down to the bottom of the stone. Finally got a burr all the way down, guys. Now we're going to flip it over. Use the other side of our thumb. Now we're flipped over. And we'll use the exact same line as before. Alright, we're doing pretty good. We've already got the burr flipped, and now we're just making sure that we get about the same amount of steel taken off the other side. Just checking that bevel and making sure that we did reach it all the way to the apex on the tip. And it looks like there's a very small sliver that hasn't been hit yet, so that's what we're going to do now. Alright, we have finally hit that tip. So now we are ready to do a couple backwards forwards passes. Not necessarily burr removal, but we are going to try to break it down a little bit. All right, now that we've passed that around, it's time for refinement and the next stone. So we'll wipe down this stone. Now we need a medium grit stone. We have the perfect one right here. So we'll leave this for later. This is our Sharpal 220 600. And I use the CBM because I do like to use it every now and then. It's a good stone, good cutting stone. All right, so basically at this point the burr is on this side. So we're gonna go ahead and start on this side. All right, so I just finished up on that first side. When you flip from one to the other, you can really see the difference in the scratch pattern, and it is quite refined at this point. So we're gonna check the burr, make sure that it is smaller but still present, because remember, it's still the original burr that we made on the first stone. It's just refined, which means it's smaller. We're not quite there yet though. Okay, now we're ready to flip. Once again, just making sure that it is hitting from top of bevel to apex all the way down, and it seems like it is once again. So we're going to do a few more single passes, make sure that burr is present all the way down, and it is for the most part, except for at the very tip and at the very heel. So that's what we're going to work on real quick. Anytime you focus on one little spot, like the heel right now, eventually after you're done with your passes on both the heel and the tip, you want to make sure that you even that out with a few passes all the way down, just so that the scratch pattern is even. It only takes a few passes, maybe 5 at most, and we do have a burr all the way down now, so we're looking a lot better than we were. Now we're just doing some light burr removal. Okay, so we are ready for our next stone, which will be our 1100 grit here. This is the Phoenix by Venev, and it will take us to our next stone, and this is the 1100 grit side. As you can see, 2014 7-5. Those are micron fractions, and the smaller the fraction, the smaller the grit, the finer the grit. Make sure that is where you want it, and then we'll grab our water and soap. I think I used a little bit too much soap. It gets a little too sudsy, but it won't hurt anything. I'm gonna go ahead and start on this side again. This stone is rather slick compared to the ones that we're used to, so we got to make sure everything is the same. With slicker stones, you have to be very careful because it's very easy to change your angle whenever you're pushing and pulling, and it could change from, you might have your angle on the way forward, but you got to be careful because it could change on the way back, and vice versa. Wipe your blade down, check your scratch pattern, making sure. And you can really see this in comparison to the other side. Once again, this is the 600 grit, and now this is the fine 1100 grit. So you can really see whether you've hit your tip or things of that nature just by looking at the stone itself. Okay, we are definitely getting there. All right, so we are ready to go ahead and push down on the second stone on the other side. A little Mountain Dew break. All right. And from the naked eye, it looks good, and it's ready to flip. But I know that microscopically it might not be quite there yet, so I'm going to take a few more minutes just to make sure, because this is going to affect how sharp your knife ends up being. Now, a 3300 grit is, to the naked eye, a mirror polish. Anything above 3000 grit, I'd say. So that's what this is going to end up being. I know I said 10,000. I guess that's just because in my mind a true mirror grit is around 10,000 grit, but you still have scratch patterns regardless. Now we are properly deburring. Okay, so we have a beautiful brand new edge on both sides that is mirror finished and completely ready to go. Let's just see exactly what we got. Already pretty sharp. Got my paper all wet, but as you can see, we are pretty sharp already. So, now that we know how sharp it is, all right, and now we're going to switch right on over to a smooth 6 micron. And over to our last one, which is a 1/2 micron. You want to go real light with this stuff because you don't want to bend your edge over at your apex. But yeah, that's what the final result's going to end up looking like. A nice shiny, I believe you can see this, kind of see the edge pretty good there. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and wipe down my edge, a little microfiber. Admire my work a little bit. Let's test the sharpness. So as you can see, it's quite sharp in many different ways. And our last little test, just to make sure that you can see exactly how sharp. Alright guys, I enjoyed it. Hope you did too. If you learned a few things, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.